I'm the rap game's financial advisor. Dropping beats that'll make you go higher. I got an 808 with metal undertones. Gonna school you about crypto, make you take loans. Stacking stacks, yeah, that's the goal. Invest in the crypto, watch it all unfold. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, more. I'm diversifying portfolios like never before. Cryptocurrency got the game in a frenzy. Financial literacy, that's the key to play. I'm spitting knowledge, making moves that count. Turning certain stacks into millions, no doubt.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro, and we are back at it again for another episode of Crypto Portfolio Updates. I hope you guys are ready and tightened into your seats, because this episode is going to be a special episode, because over this weekend that this episode is being recorded, the weekend of Sunday, July 28th, it is Bitcoin Nashville. That is awesome. Big deal. Big deal going on there. Lots of interesting speeches. I've got some takes. I've got 3 of the keynotes that I wanted to touch on in regards to Bitcoin Nashville that I thought were pivotal. One of them is going to be very obvious. I think all of them were obvious, but they were very powerful keynotes. They had some very important context, and we're not going to go and deep dive into the entire speech, but I did want to give a little snippet of it, each one, and then kind of give my thoughts on it. So that's going to take up most of the time after we get through the parts that we just got to get through, because we got to do these things every single time. First and foremost, we want to talk about what's going on in the ethos. But before we get to that, hold on. I got to bring myself back up. I am rushing, and there's no need for it. Bring me back up. Boom, I'm back here. First and foremost, we got to thank the sponsor of the show and the platform, Delta Investment Tracker app. Definitely a great sponsorship to have picked up. They randomly reached out to me. I've got access to their pro features. There is a link down in the description. If you guys could do me a favor, if you have not tried it out, if you have not downloaded it yet, use my referral link. I don't get any type of compensation. My deal that I worked out with them was a sponsorship level deal. I get access to the pro features regardless. I don't get any money from it. I don't get anything from it. It just lets them know that you found them via my channel. And I'm trying to do my part, hold up my end of the bargain, under promise and over deliver. And in doing that, you are really helping me out. So tap that link. Secondly, shout out to the family over at Circa 84. Shout out to the family in the Bag Chasers. Circa 84, there is a referral link for that. If you want to get deeper into the weeds, one of the means by which you have access to me answering your questions, unless you want to leave a question down in the comments that I will answer on the show, or in the comments as well. But I'll generally bring those questions up onto the show, because there's no bad questions, because everybody has questions. Everybody's scared to answer questions. I do reply to all my comments. I take my channel very seriously in that regard. At this juncture, I mean, obviously, maybe one day, it depends on if people find actual realistic knowledge to be cool. I'll have enough people over here to where I can't answer all the questions, but I'll still get in there and answer some. So at this juncture, though, I'm answering all of them. So if you got questions, definitely tap in with me down in the comments. Any of your crypto-related questions, strategy, pick my brain about stuff, whatever. But Circa 84, you have access to a private Patreon group, of which I am the moderator in the cryptocurrency space, and you can ask me all the questions you want all day, and I'll answer them. The other way is via the Patreon group, the Bag Chasers, of which I am a part of. That is not my Patreon group. It is Anton Daniels of AntonDaniels.com's Patreon group, and I tap in over in that crypto channel as well. I'm also in the Back Talk channel. I'm also in the stock channel. Everything that I touch on, I'll be in those channels. And that's another way you can get to me. Just let them know that you found them by old Reckless Ray Dinero. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm sorry about that, folks. I'm sorry about that. Let's go. Boom. And then we'll make me small. Boop. There I am. Okay. First and foremost, we're going to look. We got Bitcoin dominance at 52.9%. Jeez. The Bitcoin is the game right now. There's still plenty of opportunity to get into altcoins. If you're wanting to get positioned for the bull run for altcoins, you still got time because we are well above what we need to be for altcoins to be moving. All the energy is circulating around Bitcoin right now. It is insane. It is good. We are going. Yeah, sitting above 68,000. Good day. The weekend went strong. Like when it flipped over 68 at the after close of the stock market, because I was looking at my portfolio trying to see what opportunities I was going to have in there. After it flipped above 68, I was wondering if we were going to hold it over the weekend. And we did some bouncing over the weekend, but we're still sitting above 68,000. I'm really interested in what we open up with on Monday because that's going to directly affect my brokerage account, which I am watching like a hawk now. I got so many things to look at throughout the day. It is insane. There's always something to look at over my lunch break to see what moves we need to make. ETH dominance at 15.5%. Interested to see once we start getting these ETH ETF trickles coming in, because we are already deflationary in Ethereum, and I'm just really interested to see what we snap up to for Ethereum. Ethereum currently sitting at 3274.38, under 3,500. I mean, honestly, still undervalued in my opinion. I'm interested to see what these ETFs do to change the game. Gas fees on Ethereum are at 3 Gwei right now. Definitely a good opportunity to make some moves, make some buys, make some stuff happen, shake something out. Now, let's talk about the top 3 trending coins per CoinGecko. Shout out to CoinGecko, another tool that we use. Data Ownership Protocol. Never heard of it. Waffles, meme coin. TommyNet. Never heard of it. Probably a meme coin. Now, let's jump into the important part. We're going to go ahead and jump over to the top gainers and losers for the day. We are having some sideways action in the altcoin market. It is phenomenally interesting. I'm finding it very interesting. I'm liking what we've got going on as far as opportunities. We are making some adjustments to the portfolio that we're going to talk about. Is that 5? 3, 4, 5. Yep, it is. Making some adjustments to the portfolio and navigating accordingly. First and foremost, we start off with the gainers. I hope all of you are on this list, but it's looking like we're in a sideways market, so it might not even matter. There's some correction, a little bit of movement. Sunday. We're gonna take it. Easy Sunday. At number 1, at rank 442, we have Quark Chain QKC with a gain of 69.1% in the last 24 hours. At number 2, at rank 360, we have Hash AI with a gain of 32.1% in the last 24 hours. At number 3, we have at rank 994, TommyNet, TOMI, with a gain of 29.9% in the last 24 hours. At number 4, we have at rank 700, Elf.im, AE or ALEPH, with a gain of 22.6% in the last 24 hours. And last but not least, we have at rank 387, the Doge NFT, DOG, with a gain of 21.2% in the last 24 hours. Moving over to the top losers. Now, this ain't that bad. This looks like retracements for a bull run. And I'm not seeing anything that looks detrimentally horrible. But what we've got going on over here at rank number 1, at rank 651, we have Mr. Miggles, Miggles, with a loss of 32.0%. At number 2, at rank 910, we have ZK Link, ZKL, with a loss of 27.9%. At number 3, we have at rank 485, Platon Network, LAT, with a loss of 29.4%, actively changing because the market is alive. And number 4 and 5 are tied. Interesting. At number 4, we have at rank 713, Donald Trump, TREMP, 25.4% down. And last but not least, also tied for number 4 or 5. Actually, we're just going to tie these at number 4. So these are both number 4. So tied for number 4, we have at rank 530, Mother Iggy, Iggy Azalea's meme coin, MOTHER, shout out Iggy, with a loss of 25.4%. And last but not least, at number 5, we have at rank 650, MAGA Hat, MAGA, with a loss of 24.1%. That clears us up there. Now we are going to move over to the portfolio. Now, before we move over to the portfolio, we got to give up the updates. We're pretty much sitting stagnant. Total losses at 1.9%. We are still not beating the S&P 500. Good Lord Jesus. But we have made some moves. But before we get into that, some of this stuff will be in a little bit of a different order than what you saw it in last time. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and break down this top 10. Remember, we are taking out the Lido staked Ether because that is retirement funded position. That will not move ever. And then after we clear out the portfolio this year, that is getting trickled and or is trickled already into the retirement ledger that goes into cold storage. We never see it. We never touch it again. It just sits in there, just agitating and building and stacking in upon itself. It's a wonderful thing. Also removing the USDC because those are tied up in liquidity positions. So those will not be moving either. We're actually waiting for some of those positions to open themselves up so that way we can remove those positions from their holdings and reallocate them accordingly. So USDC does not count. So let's get into it. At number 1, we have Solana, SOL. At number 2, we have Ethereum, ETH. At number 3, we have Injective, INJ. At number 4, we have Osmosis, OSMO. At number 5, we have Radium, RAY. At number 6, we have Camelot Token, GRAIL. At number 7, we have Wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC. At number 8, we have Thorwallet, DEX, TGT. And at number 9, we have Superverse. And last but not least, at number 10, we have Celestia, TIA. Now, moves that we made this weekend. We are actively in the midst of a rampant consolidation down into Solana. How do we do that? We had an S and X position that had dropped below what my metric of what I want for my income coming off of an income position. That was our S and X position that has dropped completely out of the top 10, fallen off a cliff. It is currently down, but we also trimmed that position down to 100 tokens. And we converted that liquidity position over into some more Solana that we have actively staked, making money, doing what it do. Solana has been a strong performer. Solana has a lot of energy behind it for the bull run. It's going to be a compelling narrative. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. Meme coins aside, I understand everybody's about the memes. Everybody's trying to get rich tomorrow. But that is bolstering and helping their DeFi ecosystem. And so I'm here for it. So we're consolidating down into a heftier Solana position. I am setting my targets at hopefully getting to as close to 100 Solana tokens as I can pre $200. We will be looking at probably starting to reallocate some of those tokens at about, I'd say, $350 to $400. Do I see that being a possibility? Absolutely. Over the bull run, definitely could see that happening. I could see it getting as high as, well, I mean, I've seen predictions from people who know a lot more about the space than I do in regards to price predictions of 1,000. I'm looking 500 to 700. Very conservative, but that'll be moments of a moment at which, for me, I can start converting over to my Ethereum position to go ahead and start picking up my Ethereum, hopefully. And, we'll be doing it like that. The other thing that we have been doing is, I'm going to scroll down here a little bit further. You're going to see slowly moving up the list. We're going to have our JLP tokens, our Jupiter Perpetual Liquidity Provider tokens. We are going to be adding to this pool. That's one of the pools that we're looking at. Radium is sitting right at a point to where we're going to reallocate. And then once we hit that metric for Radium, I will probably shift those down both into Solana and into the Jupiter Perpetuals. The other thing that we're doing is I am clipping some of my Tendermint coins. And what that is, that's the Cosmos ecosystem. So we're going to be looking at pulling Osmosis. We're pulling a little bit out of that. We're going to be looking at Injective Protocol. We might be pulling a little bit out of that. And then we are also looking at Celestia and Atom. And I will not be pulling my Akash, though. Like, I might add a little bit to my Akash as we're pulling, simply because the AI play, it's just the play on that I'm going for, my big swing for the fences is I'm putting my hat on Solana. I'm not going to close out these other positions, but a lot of stuff I'm looking at and going, hey, what's going to be the biggest bang for the buck? And will that biggest bang, because Solana's kind of doing its own thing. Like, if you look at the Solana chart, like, it is not replicating the Bitcoin chart. Like, we can look at Wrap Bitcoin. It's not really actually, it is. It's moving. It kind of is replicating the Bitcoin chart. But like some of these other tokens, they're not bouncing back yet. The liquidity is getting to them slower. And the Solana performance right now in this window is actually outperforming the Ethereum. So I'm feeling like performance-wise, I'm going to come up and be able to get more Ethereum off the Solana play. So I just want to get everything loaded into that boat as early as possible, because at about $350 to $400, we're going to start taking some of that and moving it over into these other positions, specifically being able to filter into the Ethereum position. So we're trying to go ahead and get to our 100 bag real quick as possible, 50% there, but we're going to start pulling some of these other positions and, making the appropriate and according moves. It's what we're looking at doing. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with it. Like, I do also want to, I did add in my Superverse position, but moving down here, I've got a ZK Sync position that I've got to figure out some staking for. I want to get into that. That's been holding pretty decent since the airdrop. IMX, I would definitely like to get some more IMX into my portfolio as well. And, as it's sitting right now, I'm like, I'd like some more GMX as well. That's an infrastructure play. I do like that platform. But my focus right now is just getting everything over into Solana. Like, I'm honestly, when I scroll down lower in this list, I'm like, man, would that serve me better in Solana right now? Because I have some income that's being produced off that position, and we can redistribute according to that as well. But for right now, like, I would feel a lot better if I was hardcore seated in some more Solana. I'm kicking myself in the hindquarters for not taking that advice at $8 and just buying me a few hundred then. That would have made me feel so much better right now. But, say la vie, life is life. But over the bull run, I think we could definitely easily get into that 350 to that 350. Oh, geez. Oh, stop that. That 350 to $400 range is where I'm targeting for my initial when I'm going to start making some more moves. And yeah, that does it for that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and jump over into some of these keynotes, and I'm going to give my synopsis on what I thought about the keynote. And I'm going to start off with pretty much I was really enjoying these keynotes as I was going through this the process of following along vicariously through Bitcoin Nashville. Next year I will be likely going. I'm trying to get it on my calendar. It's going to be part of my agendas for next year. Unfortunately I'm injured, so still, and I'm getting a little bit better every day, but I really wasn't trying to be in a crowd of people and having to walk and fly in and navigate in the airport, because I'm still moving slow. Like I'm not up to speed yet. So that's the reason I didn't go this year. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this. And shout outs to Bitcoin Magazine for doing the best coverage ever on this. And I'll go ahead and link all of these down in the reference notes so that you guys, if you want to go catch these whole speeches, you can. But we're just going to do like the first couple of minutes, and I'll give a synopsis on the key takeaway that I had from these speeches. And I was really happy that I watched these in this order. And then I got a couple of honorable mentions that I watched as well. Actually, I just have one, but this is what's gonna cover the rest of the show today, because we're gonna mine this out. Let's go.
All right, everybody. I can't hear you, so I'm just gonna plow right in. I want to say, first off, it's a pleasure to be with you. I spoke recently at the Bitcoin conference in Amsterdam, and the things we talked about were very different. It's remarkable what a difference we see in just 9 months. The last time. The topic was really about how the game is rigged, but we can't leave. And in fact, it feels like it's too good to leave. We put up with the abuse. We know they're breaking the rules, not because we love it, but because we haven't ever had an alternative. And what's amazing is that we're starting to make our own. One of the core things that came up 9 months ago was Gary Gensler. Everybody was hanging on his words. And I had to remind everybody that Gary Gensler is not Daddy Bitcoin.
And that's one of the, I'm gonna pause this here, because we're gonna mine this out during this first chunk of his speech, because it's really good. There's a couple of things that he pointed out. Was we've never had another option for another system. That is paramount, especially when it comes to these detractors that are proponents of the old system. And I do a show, Future Financial Strategies. It's another playlist on here. You guys should tap in. But I believe in using all the tools. But the reality of it is, a lot of the stuff that we do and that we just take on the chin, that we just accept, are things that we were just born into. You did it, your parents did it, your grandparents did it, your great-grandparents likely did it, and that's just what it is. Nobody ever asks a question like, why do we do this? Why do we exist in this system? Why do we use a currency that the government can print at its leisure to pay its bills, which means it's making it up out of thin air, but we got to go to work to get it. We got to get out here and hustle to get it. We got to go grind our faces off to get it. And then hopefully when you turn 65 to 70, because they're talking about raising the retirement age, then you can take a break. Then you can go on vacations. Then you can go do all the things that you wanted to do for a few years. And then you expire and you don't exist anymore. And that's the cycle that we've been in, where we've just been relegated into this level of serfdom, this level of slavery. And nobody questions it. They're just like, well, this is how we always did it. Like, hopefully you figure it out and like you can get to the bag and like you can go do some stuff before you're old. But we could also have a system that doesn't force you to spend your dollars, because they're going to waste. They're slowly whittling away in their buying power. And, you know, we've got the Bitcoin system. They kind of looked away, and then they said it was for ne'er-do-wellers and women of the night and people who sold illicit things on the internet. And now banks are buying it. We're talking about using it for a strategic reserve, and countries have been buying it up. Countries are making it their currency because the dollar is, well, it hasn't been stable, but the illusion of its dominance is rapidly wearing off. So I mean, just something to think on. Like, those are very powerful things right in the beginning, like 1 minute and 11 seconds into this.
And now it's much easier to make that argument because we see that, in fact, Bitcoin is dead against Gensler.
On that last point, where he's talking about Gensler, and this is specific to the Americans, and I live in America. I actually live here. I don't just pontificate from Canada like some of the people. TMI. It's weird that people on this side of the planet believe that everything revolves around the United States, even though we see the world convulsing, thrashing, gnashing of the teeth to get out of everything revolving around the United States. When people are like, Gensler's going to end Bitcoin, and we don't even have the majority of the miners at the time that people were talking about Gensler ending Bitcoin. How? People almost completely leave out the context of, like, this is a global asset class. The economics, if America blipped out of existence tomorrow, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, the Bitcoin blockchain would still be running fine. 100% fine. It would just self-correct. The difficulty would correct for the computers that were left on the network that were still validating transactions. And as far as Bitcoin's concerned, it's not going anywhere. We're just gone. Gensler was never Daddy Bitcoin. He was just an actor to agitate Americans and the people who believe in the illusion that we've marketed to the world of us just being in control of everything. The issue is we are in a transitional period. We are in a debt cycle. This is supposed to happen. This is normal. We have extended our reign longer than it should have been in the first place by almost 30 years, 3 decades. That doesn't mean that America not being the dominant currency is the end of America. That doesn't mean Apple phones disappear. None of the assets are going to disappear. We're going to literally be like Europe. We're going to be there. We'll talk. And then people will be like, hey, Peepaw, it's time for you to sit in your chair. And that's what it's going to be. I mean, you don't have to be the dominant currency. There's other first world countries, a lot of them that Americans like to compare themselves to, that are much smaller than this one is, that are also not the superpower, but also first world countries, and they have really good standards of living that are better than America, really good healthcare that's better than America. And generally speaking, like, their people aren't being forced, except for Canada, to stay in their homes, and Australia, and not be able to go outside for years at a time because their government said so, and they just listen to everything their government says. You can be a first world country and not be, like, we have first world countries that aren't America right now. The game is being reshuffled. They're reshuffling the deck. It's not the end of the world. It's just a thing. No one stays the superpower forever. That's not the way that this works. People become lazy. They win, like America has. They become lazy. They become non-competitive. They get stuck in their boomer ways of doing things. And then they aren't fit for the new market because they stop evolving. They become a dinosaur. And then the asteroid comes and hits them. And then, we reshuffle the deck and say la vie. Keep it going. Gensler was never in control of the fate of Bitcoin, period. We are
winning, ladies and gentlemen. But we haven't won. And so we have to make sure that we don't get cocky. And I think, unfortunately, that's about the end of the fun part of this talk. But I think this year, plenty of people will be talking about the happy stuff. So you won't need me for that. I noticed that we have a lot more political representation this year, which is a wonderful, remarkable thing. We've reached the fight, the stage of the fight where, they go, oh, then they fight us. But it's actually, then they try to get us to love them. And what I want to say on that briefly, because I don't want to make this talk about all the politics there, is cast a vote, but don't join a cult.
This part right here is, I mean, honestly, we're not going to have to go too much past this because this was my key takeaway. And one of the things that I really appreciate this man for saying, like, and it's one of the things that tells me that regardless of how people feel about Snowden, that's the American spirit. That is what we were supposed. And this man got removed from this country. He got run out of this country into the country of our enemy because he exemplified what America's supposed to be. People who think, people who question authority, people who follow and protect and inform people of when their rights are being infringed upon that we agree to as a society, because the establishment that he worked for works for us. We keep acting like these people that we vote in do not work for us. Like, I've had jobs, and most jobs, I'm the best employee there. You know what? That company is still like, yo, you work for me. Like, if I get out of pocket, they got to give me some correction. If I'm not doing things the way that they want or getting stuff done to the standard that they want, they give direction. They could champion me. You're the best person here, but yo, like, we need you to do it this. Like, we need you to get on board with this. Like, we need to figure out how we're going to do this going into next year. These are the priorities. How can we get this done? I don't get hired and then people are like, just do whatever you want. Like, you're the best and we're just going to listen to you. And everybody who doesn't like you is stupid. Like, no, they work for us. They are stealing our rights. They are taking away your ability to have any type of anonymity in this country. They're depersoning people for wrong speech, wrong thought, wrong opinion, wrong support of a candidate. You people are joining cults. And people accuse me of it too. They're just like, oh, well, you don't like Kamala. You're not standing with her. No. I don't like her policies. I don't like the policies that she's implemented. I don't like what she's done to the community that they keep trying to force down our throats that she's a part of, that she herself says she's not. That doesn't mean that I absolutely love Trump. But newsflash, out of the options that we have, that's who I'm voting for because of the policy. But we'll get to that when we get to his part. That doesn't mean that I implicitly think he's the greatest person on the planet. I'm just not going to cast a vote for someone who's unqualified that is also anti 85% of my wealth. No, not voting for that person. You don't like me in color. You don't like me because I could give a list of reasons that Kamala Harris doesn't like somebody like me. She's known for, she literally has taken wealth from black people. And you expect me to vote for somebody who's anti 85% of my wealth? No, it's not happening. That doesn't mean I think Trump's great. Is he getting my vote? At this juncture, absolutely, policy-wise. Because while I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a single issue voter, crypto is a gigantic issue for me because I'm in the space. So cast your vote, but don't join a cult. I love that because I think that the cults on both the right and left are stupid. Like the people who are trying to emotionally plead to you, that are trying to scare you into voting for someone, that want you to align with them because they want you to be a loser like they are or how they perceive themselves to be. They want you to be on a team. Those are people that you don't want to associate with. I'm just telling you, because they don't think. There, especially when it comes to voting for how this nation's going to be run. I'm not voting based on my feelings. I vote based on what's the best outcome for me and the best outcome. Well, for me, primarily vote for. And honestly, if everybody just did that, this country would be so much of a better place. But not only that, we got to then, secondly, what's best for the community that I actively exist in. And then thirdly, what's best for the country. You, your community, your country. However you want to disseminate that out. But the thing is, the stuff that affects all of that is policy. So if they're not talking about what they're going to do, you have no metric for gauging how they did for you. The policies that they said that they got you to vote for them for. You guys, like, people aren't even back checking, and that's both right and left. But they can't even give you a reason that they're voting for these people. I don't like Trump. I don't like Kamala. I'm not going to vote for Trump because I don't like Kamala. Like, that's a moot point. I just don't think she's qualified and she doesn't represent me. That's okay. You're not going to get me on your team unless they change some policy. But at this late in the game, if you're changing policy this late in the game, like, no. Trump is pro-crypto. The GOP pivoted, is pro-crypto. His vice president is a Bitcoin holder that's pro-crypto. Done deal. Done deal. Kamala Harris, anti-having wealth, anti-crypto, anti-black men's freedoms. I mean, if we're going to be honest about this. We'll confiscate your wealth. Literally did it while she was the DA in California. Look it up. Horrible story. Tragic. You guys talking about generational wealth, like, she's confiscating it and giving it to white people. Like, that's not how we're doing stuff. So, no, she's not getting my vote. I don't stand with her. I don't support. Like, I don't understand how you stand with her. Like, and then these people don't even have a policy that they can be like, I stand with this. They're just like, oh, well, she's a woman and she's black. And that's literally the two things. That's not, you can't have a conversation about that. Like, we've got to do better. We have to do better.
They are not our tribe. They are not your personality. They have their own interests, their own values, their own things they're chasing. Try to get what you need from them, but don't give yourself to them, even if you have to vote for it.
That part. They have their own aims, goals, and ambitions and things that they're going to get done. They do not care about you. But the part of it that really strikes for me, and this is going to be good because, like, I'll be able to sum up Snowden. Snowden's speech was so good. So good. But I'll be able to sum this up within this little first chunk of his speech. You don't have to give yourself or join the team, people, to vote for these people. It shouldn't be an argument. Like, I don't have to, like, if somebody asks me, if you don't have a reason why you're voting for them, to be honest, you shouldn't even vote. In my opinion, I don't like the other guy. Okay, you shouldn't vote. Like, you're not built to have these conversations. You should be sitting at the kids' table. You are cognitively, as far as voting is concerned, a child. You can't even articulate why you're doing this aside from, I don't like this other person. No policy. No, they're going to do something great for the community. It's just, I don't like that guy. You shouldn't be voting. Your vote should not count as much as mine does, because I think about it. And you don't. You're having an emotional reaction. You're a child having a temper tantrum. Children don't get to vote. That said, voting for somebody doesn't mean that you have to co-sign everything that they do and defend them as a person. Do I think Donald Trump is a good person? No, but I think he'll get the job done and get the stuff done that we need. Make sure this country's safe. Make sure the taxes are in check. That people aren't getting hyperinflated to where they got to move 4 times in a year. We didn't experience that under Trump. Do I think he's gonna at least keep some of his word about crypto? Absolutely, because he's made it a point to make it important to him. His vice president is also a Bitcoin holder who is within the crypto space and is pro crypto. The administration has flipped. They are now pro crypto. They're pro our rights. All of these things, he wants this to be a hub for crypto. He wants the country to be in the future. Have people have an opportunity to be in the game, the financial game. The other party does not have those policies. They don't care about the people. Their entire MO is making people as reliant on them as possible. They're anti-wealth. They want everyone to be destitute and relying on their handouts, so they have to vote for them. In my opinion, that's just what I'm seeing policy-wise. They want everybody broke. Like, that seems to be the MO on that team. They're the team of your rank within the team comes at the level of your victimhood. Also not on board with that. Like, those are value sets that I don't carry. Like, I don't care to play that. So, but voting for Trump doesn't make me a diehard conservative. I'm not going to sit there and pretend like I'm all of these things to be on the team. I don't care whether they like me. I don't care whether liberals like me. I'm voting for my best interest and what I perceive to be the best policies for myself, my community, and then the country. It's that simple. And I can explain that. I'd love to have that conversation. So anyone who wants to have that debate, tap in, because we can do that.
Instead, what I want to do is set this frame a little different for this conversation. I want you to reflect on where we are, how we got here, and where we're headed. There's a passage from a book that I think for this crowd really resonates. It says, for in every country of the world, I believe, the avarice and injustice of princes and sovereign states abusing the confidence of their subjects have by degrees diminished the real quantity of metal value which had been originally contained in their coins. Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, written in the year 1776. We're not playing games with metals anymore. But if you look around, you can see that the problems from that kind of thinking are springing up everywhere. They're reaching us. They're choking us. And you see this in the internet as well. What is it that's wrong with the internet? The thing that's wrong with the internet is what's wrong with the world, because more and more they're one and the same. A system has been constructed around us, not just through administrations, but through generations, that is fundamentally unfair. What do I mean by that? Look at the economy, right? There's an increasing concentration of resources into fewer and fewer hands. So it is now even with the human voice. Winner take all is the model that's apparent on platforms as far as the eye can see. Whether you're talking about broadcast media, whether you're talking about legacy media, whether you're talking about newspapers, whether you're talking about social media, minority opinions are increasingly made to survive at the indulgence of the censor. They're clinging to the edge of the platform by their fingernails. You see truckers in Canada that are getting debanked, and you see students at Columbia are getting de-hired for the things that they express. Now, we don't have to agree with them. We shouldn't necessarily agree with them.
And I'm going to stop it there because I went over a little bit over what I was originally gonna have it play, but I thought it was important. And that it's the truth. We are in a society right now, and I see this being so pivotal and so important. And it's one of the reasons that I kind of started pivoting the way that I was moving because on both sides, that's the new play, is we're just going to deperson people who don't agree with us. It's not enough that you guys just disagree, But you want these people to lose their jobs. You want them to lose their income. You guys are screwing up their livelihoods over words and opinions and thoughts. And it's gotten to the point now to where you're doing it to people that are actually trying to help you. They're just not helping you the way that you want. So now you're going to go take their job. Now you're going to go get them fired. You're going to go set some seeds in their place of employment so that the people around them feel uncomfortable. And this is the reason that the crypto space is so important, because you can't debank crypto. You can't deperson people within the DeFi ecosystem. There's always a way to navigate, and it's trustless. So you don't even have to know you're dealing with these people. But the thing that people have to take with them from his speech in its entirety is the way that this system was set up and the way that it functions is putting the people who would be, I mean, honestly, the peasant class at each other's throats. Over small difference, because we're down to small difference. Who are you voting for? I hate you. Oh, you said she's not qualified. You hate women. Oh, you're voting for Trump. You're a racist. Oh, you're voting third party. You're throwing your vote away. Like, why are you even voting? Simple stuff. Oh, let's talk policy. Why are you asking about that? Just vote the way we tell you. Don't ask questions. Obey. Meanwhile, your wealth is literally being taken from under you, because regardless of what anybody wants to say, the market's doing good, and the people, this is the craziest retort ever. People will tell me how great the market is doing, and I'm like, I know. For me, you don't own anything. You own no assets. You have no brokerage. You live in hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck, and you had to move 4 times over COVID. Had to. Not chose to. Had to. Because your rent got raised and you can't afford it. You own no property. You own no stocks. You own no assets. You own no Bitcoin. You own nothing. But you're gonna tell me, oh, the market's doing great. Like, you can't buy a house, my guy. You can't get into stocks. You can't afford Nvidia at $118 because you don't have $118. Your bank account lives at 0. You have nothing. So sure, the economy, the market, the stock market, you're right. I'm benefiting either way. And I tell people this all the time. I'm benefiting either way. But like, these people keep making you have to move and never be able to afford a house, and now you can't eat. Like, what are they going to take? What are you losing next? Before we have a conversation about what your candidates are doing for you, because they're not working for you. They're working for me. Both teams. Kamala being anti-crypto still benefits me because, to be honest, I can afford to not be here. Like, that's still an option. I take my ball and leave. Nothing they can do about it. I can also afford housing. I'm also got a portfolio that's getting ready to start covering most of my primary core expenses. Like, I'm sure, like, one of the metrics that they're judged by is the stock market doing well. You know what's funny? All of those people who are making it so that you can't live are heavily invested in the stock market. So of course that's doing well, because that's their pockets. Housing prices going up. They own houses. I also own a house. Benefits us. Most of the people who are emotionally tied into these games are on the wrong side of all of these trades. You don't own houses. You don't own assets. You own nothing that's going up in value. And you have to deal with dollars that are losing their ability to buy stuff every year at a rapid clip right now. It's something to think on. And I'm not saying you have to not be on a team, but it's like, where are people holding these people accountable? Where's the accountability? Like, if I was voting for people that are supposed to be for the poor and I'm becoming destitute, they're not helping you. Like, your life is just worse, and you voted for them, and you got saved. You didn't get saved by nobody. And your life is worse, and now you can't afford to live where you was even living. That's gone. And you can't afford a house because you're not going to outbid BlackRock. And they're allowing all these things to happen. And telling you like, oh, well, the other guy's racist. Like, what policy benefited you? What part of this administration benefited you aside from feeling like you won something? Also, are you guys so brazen that you'll feel like you won to being homeless? Because once you're homeless, I'm pretty sure you can't vote anymore because you don't have a home. You got to have an address and ID. So that's valid. So like once you become homeless, you don't get to participate in the voting either. And a lot of you are rapidly heading that direction. Like it's just a question about policy question. It's not about being on teams. Now, next is going to be my first presidential candidate. Oh, I totally forgot to put that up for that part of the video, but it's cool. It's cool. I'll have Snowden down in the deal. Let me get my banners out. I totally forgot about that. But the next one, we've got presidential candidate RFK, who, in my opinion, was the best bet for the Democratic Party. And it's very coincidental that they ran him out of the party because they weren't going to let him run. And then Biden ended up not running anyway, so that they could give you Kamala without a vote that you guys didn't get to vote on, which is, I mean, apparently people who are on the team find no issue with that breach of process and their vote being taken away, but whatever. Yeah, we're going to move on to RFK next, and let's hear a little bit of what RFK got to say.
Hello, Bitcoiners. I am so glad to be back for my second Bitcoin conference.
Now, RFK's been to 2 of these bad boys. I'm just gonna like I said, I think we're just gonna do these on the fly. This episode is gonna be a little bit longer, but he's done 2 conferences. He's done 2 conferences. That's saying a lot. Like he's been on board for a long time. As far as politicians go, like they can only do what they do. But he's been here.
Since last year in Miami, I've been meeting with leaders and thinkers from this community. I've conferred with Bitcoin miners, with policymakers, with economists, with financial experts, with investors and developers and entrepreneurs to deepen my understanding of the extraordinary promise of Bitcoin for our country and for our planet. After all I've learned, I intend, as President of the United States, to sign an executive order on day one, directing the Department of Justice and the U.S. Marshals to transfer the approximately 200,000 Bitcoin held by the U.S. government to the United States Treasury, where it will be held as a strategic asset.
Now, what he just said, the transferring of the 200,000 Bitcoin that are being held that have been seized by the U.S. government being transferred into a strategic reserve, that is a policy. That's something you can hold them to. I don't think that people understand that. They just listen to stuff, get emotionally riled up, and then forget about anything that they said specific. But that's a policy. Making Bitcoin a strategic reserve. Then you don't have to, it also takes the sell pressure off because that's taking all that Bitcoin off the table. Also, it's securing the nation into the future. Policy.
On day one as president, I will sign another executive order directing the U.S. Treasury to purchase 550 Bitcoin daily until the U.S. has built a reserve of at least 4 million Bitcoins.
Another policy. They're going to buy 500 Bitcoin daily until they have 4 million for the strategic reserve. Genius play. Genius play for a country, because other countries have already started doing this. Other countries are actively mining Bitcoin. As we move into the next phase of this system, however that plays out, it seems like Bitcoin's going to be a part of it globally, because a lot of people, America uses the dollar as a weapon at this point, and other countries are sick of it, and they're going, hey, if I have the ability to sidestep this, I am going to sidestep this. There's no reason for them to not do this unless you're trying to wall yourself off or wall yourself and your citizens off to literally not be able to play in that ecosystem, which is a detriment to the people who are going to be on the outside of it, because there's only so much Bitcoin to go around. 21 million. USA wants 4 million of them as a reserve. Other countries are already buying up Bitcoin as a reserve. Other countries are allowing it to be used as a currency. Only so much to go around. It's programmatic scarcity that's not going to change.
And a position of dominance that no other country will be able to usurp. Our nation holds approximately 19% of global gold reserves. This policy will give us about the same proportion of total Bitcoin. The cascading impact from these actions will eventually move Bitcoin to a valuation of hundreds of trillions of dollars. On day one as president, I will sign also an executive order directing the IRS to issue public guidelines that all transactions between Bitcoin and the US dollar are unreportable transactions.
Another policy. Now that's a good one. That's a protection of your anonymity. That's another solid one. I mean, I would love that. Like, that would be great, in my opinion. Yeah, things that we can hold accountable to. These are tangibles. This is what he's going to give us as Bitcoiners if he becomes president. Now, he's running under a third-party ticket. It's my only issue, is like, he is borderline unelectable because he is running under a third-party ticket, and unfortunately, we are in a team environment to where the third party, when it comes to running for president, just really has little to no shot. Like, even coming out of the Democratic Party, they don't have the gung power. They don't have the ability to market themselves as well. They can't get in front of everybody. Like, this is great. This would be awesome. If he was running as a Democrat, 100% would have my vote. Because at this point, it would be policy driven. Like, I don't understand why they don't bring him back. I don't understand why they're forcing Kamala onto people. Policy. She's said nothing about policy this entire time. I've been seeing the speeches. She is nothing about what they're going to do. Nothing. You should vote for me. I can deal with Trump. I know his type. Over and over and over again, because all of her speeches are the same speech, which is also weird. But these are promises, tangibles, things where you can go, hey, on my report card, for the reason I voted for you, did you do this, 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 and this because you said you were going to do it? And you can go yes or no. And we can go, did you get that done? Did you get that done? Did you get that done? Now, does it mean when you get into office, they're not going to be able to do 100% everything that they said they're going to do. But I mean, did you try? Was there an effort? Did we see some of this stuff get done? Something. And for some odd reason, the Democrats do not want, well, obviously, because if you're getting people's votes and then not doing anything for them, of course you don't want them asking questions about what you did for them. Of course, you're not going to promise anything. Everything's going to be vague and like, hey, you'll feel better if you vote for me. What am I getting? It doesn't matter. You're going to feel better. That game has been played, and the people who have the ability to think, which is part of the reason the public schools stopped teaching critical thinking, is because they don't want you to have the ability to think. They don't want you to wonder why you're not getting shit for what you just did. But that's the reason we need to bring these things back. We need to teach people how to think, how to ask questions, how to question authority outside of it being novelty. Question everyone, including the people who are supposedly on your team.
And by extension, non-taxable. On day one as president, I will also sign an executive order directing the IRS to treat Bitcoin as an eligible asset for 1031 exchange into real property.
That'd be a big one. Bro, you could use Bitcoin to buy a house and not pay taxes. A lot of you who are never going to be able to buy houses would have the opportunity to buy a house at that point. That would pull a lot of people out of some certain situations into some different situations and also have a tax advantage for it.
Now, I want to say a couple of words about my observations about the Bitcoin community, which I consider myself part of. Despite their different viewpoints, I found the most striking feature of Bitcoin community is this kind of paradoxical juxtaposition marked by fierce divisions on several minor issues and an overwhelming sense of unity within the larger Bitcoin ecosystem. The Bitcoin community reminds me of how American politics ought to be.
And I'm gonna go ahead and woo, bless me. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this one here. But take note of that within the Bitcoin community, we are not a monolith. Within the Black community, we are not a monolith. Within these parties, people shouldn't be a monolith. The more they try to drive that monolith type rhetoric where it's like, we all believe this, this, and this, and this, and this, and we all do this, this, and this, and this, and this. You're an automaton. Like, why would you even want to be a part of something like that? Like, of course, there's going to be people where you have completely similar value sets and you guys click off really well. But if all you're doing is being around people that don't challenge you, that implicitly agree, then you either have weak opinions or you don't have the ability to be around people in a civil fashion that don't necessarily share your same opinions. And you see it on both the right and the left. And that's one of the things I like about the Bitcoin community is like, hey, we might not agree on everything, but like we agree on Bitcoin and we can go, cool. Well, it's such a wide swath of people. You have a lot of third-party voters. Like, I mean, I came in, I was Green Party when I came in. I still am registered Green Party. I just don't vote for any of those dudes because like they never have policy and like they're not able to get in front of people in a fashion to where it matters at this point, which is super depressing and unfair because we're not getting the options that we should as citizens. We're getting curated options. That's actually the 90% of the problem is we're getting curated options for who we even get to vote for. They get to say. And specifically in the Democratic Party, they just tell you, you don't even get to vote on your candidate. And like, I understand, I've had conversations with people about Trump and they were like, well, not all conservatives like Trump. Of course they don't. But you know what they did get to do? Vote for who they wanted to be their representative, and he won. And then they said, okay, the Democratic Party, since Bernie Sanders, which won the vote, and they told you were getting Hillary, and then no one voted for her and you lost the election. Since then, they've been telling you what you're getting. You get told. Next time around, they told you were getting Biden. No one wanted him. He's a worse candidate. Hands down. But you voted for him because they told you, hey, if you don't vote for us, that bad guy is going to get into office. And now your lives are marginally worse. Those of you who don't have money, which keep trying to convince everybody else that they're poor too, even though like your situation and my situation are night and day different. Your lives are worse. The people you voted in didn't save you. And now they're just going, oh, well, like that's Trump's fault too. That's the equivalent of Trump trying to blame Obama for every single thing that didn't go right for his administration after the first 2 years. After the first 2 years, your excuses go away. You're in control of the policy. You're steering the ship. You're setting the trajectory. And they're telling you what you're going to get, which is you're going to be poor. You're going to lose more rights. You're going to have less freedoms. We're not even letting you vote on who we tell you who you're going to vote for now. It's insane to me. Like, it's disturbing and insane to me, actually, because that's not what America's built on. You're supposed to get a say. Even if I don't agree with you, I want you to vote and tell me which candidate you would prefer based on policy. But when they tell you who you get to vote for, there's no conversation needed about policy because they're just going to tell you what you're getting anyway. That's problematic. That's anti-American. Actually, as much as people say Trump wants to be a dictator, that is dictatorial. That's how dictators function. I'm going to tell you what you get. You don't get to vote. I'll tell you. Then just go vote for that. That's not democratic. It's not democracy. Your opinions are supposed to be heard. And then to the people who have blatantly told me that I shouldn't have an opinion because I'm not a part of the team, I care about your right to vote. And you should be able to vote for the person you're supposed to give your opinion on who you want via your vote in the primaries for who you want for your presidential candidate. And I want you to have that right, and it angers me that you don't. That simple. So we're going to move on around this out because this episode's a long one. It's gone over an hour. I probably should have just done individual breakdowns, but I didn't. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next presidential candidate, which is the man, the myth, the legend, presidential candidate Donald Trump. Let's hear what presidential candidate Donald Trump has to say. Former president, again, presidential candidate Donald Trump.
Because we have to talk about crypto, we have to talk about Bitcoin, we have to talk about all these great companies. But our country is blessed to have the extraordinary talent, energy, and genius represented in this room. It really is great genius. Not all of you, but most of you, many of you. But this is the kind of spirit that built America, and this is the spirit that's going to help us make America great again. That's what we're doing. I stand before you today filled with respect and admiration for what the Bitcoin community has achieved. It's incredible, actually. I sort of say to my sons, it's like incredible because they know so much about it. They're so aware of it, much more so than people that are a little bit older. But I say this is the steel industry of 100 years ago. It really is. I think you're just in your infancy. I can see it happening. In just 15 years, Bitcoin has gone from merely an idea posted anonymously on an internet message board to being the 9th most valuable asset anywhere in the world. Can you believe that? Is that right? That's a big deal. Think of that. It's already bigger than ExxonMobil. Soon it will be surpassing the entire market cap of silver. It's not bad. How about gold? How about gold? Let's go gold.
We're coming for it. We're coming for it. Now this one's going to be an interesting one because like this they didn't even chop this one up into like the topics, but I just want to listen just a little bit. Listen to what Trump's got to say.
And one day it probably will overtake gold, but based on the way it's going now, it could very well be a possibility. There's never been anything like it, and I don't think you've ever seen anything like it. And most people have no idea what the hell it is. You know that, right? So what happens when they figure it out? That's going to really be something. Bitcoin is not just a marvel of technology. As you know, it's a miracle of cooperation and human achievement and a lot of relationships that are formed. I just did a meeting, a roundtable with a lot of the leaders, and it's amazing. There's a great camaraderie. It's really interesting. There's competition, but there's a relationship. There's a friendship that's developed with a lot of these people. I noticed it. I don't usually see that too often. I see the opposite, actually. They want to get each other. They want to kill each other. These guys have a great feeling. Very smart people, too. Congratulations on all that you've accomplished. This room is amazing. The people in this room, high IQ individuals. I'm running against a low IQ individual, her. I'm not even talking about him, her. I got a low IQ individual.
So this one's pretty easy to sum up. And like, this is full transparency. Trump had the worst speech here. 100%. Like, I liked it in the sense that he had his policy. He is also on board with the strategic reserve for Bitcoin. But it was like a bunch of word salad. It was like strategic reserve. So basically what RFK said, I'm still trying to tease out what his thoughts are on the dollar, the fiat dollar to Bitcoin transactions being anonymous and non-taxable. And the the 1031 exchanging of Bitcoin for property because it's digital property into physical property. Don't know it. He didn't give specifics on that during his speech that I remember. A lot of pot shots, which is Trump, you know. He's aggressive. He's a salesman. It's what he does. But policy-wise, he's on board with strategic reserve for the country for Bitcoin, and we're still teasing out what other policies. Now, also, got to keep in mind, and RFK also pointed this out, he just got into the Bitcoin space, the Bitcoin ecosystem. He's just now learning about it. Now, it's obvious that he's done some research, which is cool. We're going to take him down because, like, we don't like this one. Actually, we don't need to do a whole spiel about because it wasn't as good as the other ones. It wasn't as insightful. It was politics, and there was a lot of scare tacticking in there. And like I filtered through that. I'm looking at the policy. Like, what did you say you were going to do? And the one thing that I definitely dialed in on was the strategic reserve asset. And then he also had a part where he was talking about the taxes on it. So like there will be some tax benefit for Bitcoin holders. I want to get specifics because I need to know. I want to know exactly what we're holding him accountable to. But the thing that was very telling was no one from the Democratic Party showed up for this. Period. They didn't send a representative. Nobody. And that's very telling, especially being a predominantly single issue voter. Like we can work on the other stuff. Like I care about where my wealth has been placed and generated. And so it's concerning to me how dismissive the Democratic Party is about this. Like if they're trying to politicize it, it's just like, okay, so you're so much the party of helping poor people, or are you the party of making poor people? Because Bitcoin helps poor people. And if you want to be like, oh, well, that's a conservative thing, and we're just going to tell all of our people to not be involved in it, then like you're just setting them up to be destitute, which makes sense if you're the party that gives the free handouts and we're the government and we're here to help and you need poor people because that party needs poor people at that point, if that's the way that this is going to be set up. We just don't want, like, you should also just tell people within your group, stop buying houses. Oh, don't buy houses unless you're a Democratic politician and can make money off of it. Like, you guys shouldn't, everyone else shouldn't be making money, period, is basically the ethos that I'm seeing here. And it doesn't seem to be American, considering that the people within the party are making a lot of money in the stock market. They're making a lot of money in real estate. They're making a lot of money behind the scenes. But they're going out of their way, it seems, to keep their constituency poor. Like, that is just wild to me. And it's sad. It's really sad. Like, I wanted RFK to run, because I was like, yo, like, we could do another Democratic administration if it was RFK's administration. I was super excited when he announced he was going to run. And then they ran him out of the party. And I was just like, what? Like, that doesn't even make any sense, considering all the polls, all the stats was like RFK could beat Trump. I don't think RFK can win as a third party, though, which now he's put himself in a position where he's just unelectable, and his policies are phenomenal. And that's the reason it makes me sad that third parties don't have the same shot and the same opportunity that the Democrats and Republicans have. Like I said, curated choices. And one of the choices is self-curating. So, like, it's not even like curated by the country. Like, oh, we only got 2 options, but at least we picked them. It's like, realistically, only 1/2 of this country got to vote on who they wanted to run for president. The other side got it chosen. They just got given rollover president. And that's concerning. It's also anti-American. Like, I mean, like, now we have even less choice. Like, that's actually bad. And if RFK had a shot in hell of winning, I would definitely vote for him. But like, I learned after voting for Joe Jorgensen last time. See, I've already voted for a woman president before it was cool. So that it's me thinking Kamala is not qualified is definitely not me not liking women or being a misogynist. It's a simple fact that, like, she's not intelligent. She doesn't have policies. She's not qualified for the job. The job that she did have, as the borders are, went terrible. Instead of fixing the immigrant issues of us getting flooded with immigrants into our country, she went to Ghana to go do what she did there for a specific community that we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, apparently. So she didn't do the job that we needed her to do. It didn't benefit American citizens. Definitely the black people in Chicago are not benefiting from all the immigrants that came through the border that she was the czar of, that are now taking their resources and making it so that their kids don't have after school programs that they were kind of needing to help keep kids off the streets and keep crime low. They're not happy with the taxes there going up. Like, now people can't afford to even keep their houses that already have them. Again, manufacturing poverty almost is what it seems like. So we're going to close it out on that. I mean, it's just cast your vote, and I'm going to close it out with a quote from Snowden. Cast your vote, but don't join the cult. Don't drink the juice, people. Just because you're voting for someone doesn't mean you have to be on that team. We should be debating policy, not who we like and dislike. Like, these aren't hard conversations to have. Like, this it's pretty simple, folks. Like, we have to do better. We have to get back to thinking. We have to get back to having things that we can hold these people accountable to find out if they're even doing a good job, which is the policies. That's the only, like, do you like him more now than when you voted for him? Because he didn't promise you anything, so you can't say he did or didn't do a good job. Are you able to live in the place that you want to live without having to move abruptly because it got bought by BlackRock and they raised the rent? We've got to get back to gauging how these things affect us and what those effects are and if they were beneficial to us, and then navigating accordingly. It's okay to vote for somebody that you wouldn't normally vote for. Just because you're a registered Democrat doesn't mean you can't vote for a Republican. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you can't vote for a Democrat if the policies are better and more beneficial to you. Just because you're any of those doesn't mean you can't vote for the Green Party or the third party candidate if the policies are better. We've got to start holding these people accountable. Until the next time, folks, it's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro. If you've liked this content, definitely give me a like. If you really like this content, share it with your communities, because over here in the Wolfpack, we are not trying to get rich by ourselves, but we are definitely trying to get rich. Also, tap in with me with your thoughts down in the comments. I'm going to leave the link, so if any of you guys want to go catch the keynotes, then come back to the comments and we can talk about it. I'm willing and ready to have the conversation. We're getting ready to bring the live stream back so that people can try to tell me I'm wrong. We're probably going to have to start doing some smoke shows now that we've got a little bit of the opinionated content on here, so that you guys can come up and tell me why I'm wrong or if I'm wrong, and then explain it with math, because that's how we do things over here in the Wolfpack. It's based on logic. Till next week, people, it's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro, host of Crypto Portfolio Updates, and I am out. Peace.
Money moves, gotta hustle, gotta grind. In this game, no room for the blind. Crypto's the wave, the key to the grind. Transfer that wealth, it's time to climb. Blockchain buzzing, time to make a move. Invest in the future, can't afford to lose. Learn the game, gotta play it right. On the right side, we take it flight. Punch the clock, working hard day and night. Gotta stay focused, keep that mind tight. Crypto, wealth transfer, we want it all. Rise to the top, never hit a wall.